Hello, welcome. The question type we will be focusing on this time around is the sentence completion questions. But before we start, let's take a look at some pop-up words that will be very important to your understanding of this lesson. I'm sure you're wondering, what are pop-up words? Well, instead of having the traditional words to know every single lesson where you're giving the dictionary formal definition of words, I created the pop-up word mini lessons, in a sense, where there are going to be terms that we don't really need to go into the formal definitions of each word, but they are important and will be mentioned consistently. Sometimes it will just be the word, or I may even go into more detail depending on the concept. Don't worry, words to know will still be making appearances, but I don't want it to get too repetitive. So let's look at the pop-up words for this lesson. The first one is word limit. The word limit that you are given reflects the level of detail required. This means that if your answer to a question is too long, you're either taking too many words to explain your point or giving too many/too detailed examples. The next word we have is paragraph. A paragraph is a part of a piece of writing that usually deals with one subject, that begins on a new line and is made up of 3 to 8 sentences. These two words will be mentioned a lot throughout the course, but they will be really important during the writing section. Now, let's get to what this lesson is really about, that being the sentence completion question type. There are questions in the reading section that ask you to fill in the gaps in the sentences. On the question paper, the question would look something like this. Just a couple of quick things to remember. You should complete statements that paraphrase sentences from the text. You will be given a word limit, and the questions will follow the order of the text. Similarly to our previous question types, you'll notice that this will be pretty common throughout the different question types. They won't try to trick you by putting the answers in the wrong order. So, now that you have been given the sentences to complete, those sentences won't be exactly identical to the text. They are paraphrased. Remember that word? Although the questions will be paraphrased, they will keep their initial meaning. Key words from questions may be your pointers. They'll help you find the passage that contains the answer. But to find the answer, you should understand the meaning of the question and find the sentence with the same meaning in the text. So you should look for meaning, not separate words. Before we look at our example, let's take a look at some strategies you can use if you do receive this question on your test. The first thing you should do is read the text, then use keywords to find the needed paragraph. Make sure you understand the question statement and search for a sentence with a similar meaning. Once you've found the answer, check if it fits into the statement grammatically and make sure it doesn't exceed the word limit. Once you've finished with the question, repeat this strategy with the other questions. Just a quick note, just like the previous question type, the order of the questions will follow the same order in the passage. Also, if the text introduces new terms, some answers are likely to be among them. To understand all of this better, we are going to look at another example. This lesson's passage is called How Atoms Were Discovered. Before I give you the chance to read, let's look at the statements we will be trying to decipher. Let's start with number 1. The type of random jittery movement of tiny particles is called blank. Number 2. Einstein explained the phenomenon of particles' strange motion by the fact that they were collapsing with blank. Number 3. Nowadays, scientists consider atoms' structures similar to tiny blank. And lastly, number 4. Blank are parts that are circling around the nucleus. Now that we've finished with the statements, please take a moment now to read the passage. Feel free to write down your answers and see if you can get the answers correct by using these strategies. Okay, let's see how you've done. Let's start with number 1. What do you think would be a keyword in this question? Looking at it, I'd say type of movement would be a word that is really important when trying to fill in the blank. If we use this as a keyword, it would direct us to the 3rd paragraph. There, we can see a phrase with the same meaning. This very particular type of movement, by then called Brownian motion, it refers to the movement of tiny particles described in the first 2 paragraphs. So the answer is Brownian motion. Note how the new term from the text is used for sentence completion. This is quite common for sentence completion questions in IELTS reading. Now for number 2, the keywords here are Einstein explained. The 4th paragraph tells us that Einstein's theory was that the particles from the pollen grains were being moved around because they were constantly crashing into millions of tinier molecules of water. Look at how the synonyms are used. Einstein's theory equals Einstein explained. Crashing into equals collapsing with. Now we see that the correct answer is water molecules, but why not molecules of water, as it was stated in the text? Because the question asks to complete the sentences with no more than 2 words. So a 3-word answer is automatically incorrect. That's why here we had to rephrase the correct answer to make it fit with the word number boundaries. You should always pay attention to this. Now for number 3, atom structures are discussed in the last paragraph, where we can find a paraphrase of our question statement. But physicists now know that atoms are not solid little balls. It's better to think of them as tiny electrical planetary systems. We have scientists, which equals physicists, nowadays equals now, and consider equals think of them as. So the correct answer is planetary systems. With question number 4, again, nucleus was introduced only in the last paragraph, so we should search for the answer there. The last sentence of the last paragraph states that the electrons orbit this nucleus like planets. Knowing that circle around equals orbit, the correct answer is obviously electrons. For this lesson, there are sentence completion exercises available for you to practice what you've learned in this session. It will be linked as a resource for this class and in your resource sheet. Well, that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we will continue with breaking down the question types in the reading section.